guys, we got Kyle here for you.
Hey Kyle, how you doing?
Good, Matt. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Hey, I know this was a big topic last year, and things don't seem to be going any better this year as far as from the injury standpoint. But I mean, can you explain this away? The injuries to Wilson, School, and more as bad luck, or is there anything to suggest that something else is going on?
I mean, I could tell you what happened to the three of them. Jeff got hurt sitting down in a chair in the locker room, and he got out of it, and his knee got in an awkward position. So, that obviously was a freak, unfortunate accident. Timor hurt his Achilles on air. No one was by him. He backpedaled, and he went to go break forward, and it just gave out. In school in a pass protection drill, going against someone, put his foot down, and his knee just buckled. So, three unfortunate injuries, two on the field. I think the hard thing was the two on the field. We had a clean camp, and no one got a serious injury like that. And then we had two guys in 3 plays with Tarvarius in school. So that was a little depressing. It's always, you hate seeing that. But, last year we didn't have an off season. We lost 4 people before training camp started. We lost Debo to a broken foot in the off season. We lost DJ Reed to a torn pec. We lost Tease Taper to a broken foot. We lost Richie James to a broken wrist. Those are all outside of football, so it's part of life. We got 2 people hurt on the field in OTAs, 7 practices, and it's very unfortunate because those 2 guys were having a great practice, and Jeff got hurt before it started.
Hey, Kyle, when you say you guys we're having a clean camp, are you kind of done? Are you going to do any more OTAs, and is mini camp still going to go on next week?
No, we're totally done. We really finished up our exit meetings today, really, with everybody. We're still going to keep the rookies around here for a little bit, some more than others. I kind of decided a while ago we weren't going to do mini camp. I rarely do mini camp. When we get 9 OTAs in, we usually do 1 practice, and then we have like a team building thing throughout that. And kind of decided earlier in this if we could get our OTAs in, I wasn't going to keep them for mini camp because it's a week longer than usual. I like the guys to get away for 40 days, and we started a week later this year than usual. The whole league did, so they only would have gone away for like 32 days, and I think that does add up. So we had such a big turnout too. And I know there was some question around a lot of people around the league, so I didn't know if we didn't have a big turnout, I obviously would have kept those guys because I know we had to get some work in. But, we really had 89 people show up to OTAs, which was unbelievable. And the guy who didn't was here since February, rehabbing the whole time with D. So he just got away because he's been here since February, and he had to get away for just his peace of mind. But having 89 guys here and getting 7 OTA practices in, I felt great about it. My plan was to get 8, and I was going to surprise them on Thursday and take everyone bowling. But after our 7th practice with those 2 injuries and just the aura it gave to it, I wasn't going to come back and do one more just to do one more. So I surprised them on day 8 instead of day 9.
Let me sneak in a quickie here. Does that mean that Nick Bosa has shown up and was taking part in some things?
Yeah, he can't take part in much because he's still rehabbing too, but he's been here all week, and he's been good. But came for a shorter visit than expected. He thought he was going to come for 2 weeks, but I didn't let him know until I let the whole team know we weren't doing minicamp.
Kyle, now that you guys are mostly done with the offseason, I know you said the rookies will stick around a little bit. How do you think Trey Lance did in terms of picking things up and translating it to the field over the last few weeks?
I think he did a good job. Just being able to throw everything at him. We got through the whole installation. And be able to do that, there's a process of it. Some days you do good, some days you do bad, but there's a whole up and down with it that is necessary for a guy to go through. So you can get those reps, soak it in, have an idea of what it feels like. Now we have tape to show him, tape to talk to him about. He gets to get away on his own and have an idea of what's expected out of him when he gets back. And just going through the process, kind of with most people with OTAs, I don't really ever say whether it was good or bad because just going through it to me is good. Even if he didn't do that well, which I thought he did, but it's just the experience of how it affects you in camp. And it leads to what you got to work on when you're away, and really helps you get your mind right and your body right for what's ahead of us.
Hey, Kyle, I know you don't go like, oh God, we're screwed again. Here we go again with injuries. But does it lead you to think about training camp in any sort of different way? I realize you got to play football. You can't prevent injuries, but Do you think about just changing things up, just in light of this?
Yeah, I think about everything every single day, 7 days a week. That's my job too. That's why we change stuff up a lot, and we always do. We're always reevaluating things and doing things like, I'd say, we change every year a little bit. We always learn from stuff, but to sit and say we're going to do training camp differently because someone got hurt getting out of chair, because someone got hurt on air, and a person hurt his knee playing football, this would be pretty irresponsible of me and extremely reactionary. We just try to do what's right for our guys and provide them football, and we try to do it the safest way as possible.
Kyle, what's your overall assessment of how the rookies progressed this week, especially Trey Sermon, since he was allowed to take first team reps?
I was just kind of like what I said with, Trey, the quarterback to begin with. Just those guys being able to go through all these practices. Last year we didn't get an off season, and you have a bunch of rookies show up for training camp and they have no idea what they're into. They think they're in shape and they tweak stuff and it messes up their whole year. To be able to get rookies here, them see what it's like to play at NFL speed, to learn the playbook, but go out there and understand how NFL practices are, how fast you go, how much better the people are across from you. It gives those guys just an idea of when they come into camp what I got to work on, and I think it helps those guys have a much better rookie year. So Trey's been great, and Sermon we're talking about each week he's got more and more reps, and as we cooled it down with Raheem a little bit here the last couple of weeks, it's given him even more opportunities.
Kyle, how do you I hate to keep going back to injuries, but how do you sort of balance, the need and the desire to protect guys in camp and not overwork them, but, also knowing that they need those reps and they need to hit other guys in order to prevent injuries long term? How do you sort of balance that?
We have a whole science to it. We get the GPS of how much they go through. Every guy's an individual. So you got to think of what's best for the team and what's best for the individual. So, you could write a 1,000-page book on that answer. But that's what we do. Last year was the most disappointing time because the way COVID went and everything, training camp was cut in half. And we also didn't have an off season. So you didn't have the time to really train guys and practice football. So all you did was just sit there and wait and hope you get them to week one, which was kind of the card everyone was dealt. But that's definitely not the way to keep guys healthy throughout the season. That's a great way to get them there. But guys aren't prepared to play, and I thought we paid for that last year. A lot of stuff you can't control, but one thing I do know, going through this for 19 years and this being, I think, my 19th season, just being around it in a lot of different places, you got to play football in order to get ready for football. And the more football you play, the better you are and the more longer that you can do it. Now, every time you play a sport or every time you do anything, you got a chance to get hurt. So obviously that goes up, but that's what we're paid to do, and that's the only way you can get better at what we do is by doing it.
Kyle, what would you say the general mood was of the guys as you essentially sent them home for summer?
I think the guys felt like we accomplished a lot. I think the guys came in and really attacked it hard. That's really what I appreciated. Like, our guys never came in and demanded anything. They wanted to know what my plan was. And I got a bunch of guys who really love football and who aren't scared to work. And guys came in and did it each day, did everything we asked for. And when they did that, I just felt like our guys, and me included as a coach, I felt we'd accomplished what we'd set out to do. And you try to make decisions for 90 people. Yeah, there's probably about 15 guys that I'd love to continue to put on a whole camp for, but I'm not going to do that at the expense of the other 75. Where about 3 weeks ago, I want to put on a camp for 75 people, and there's really about 15 guys I'm not so worried about. But I still like everyone to be a part of it because you don't want to just say, hey, these guys don't have to do it, but these guys do. And that's why I'm proud of our team and that all these guys showed up and came to work, and a lot got better and some guys struggled in OTAs, but it's crucial that you learn that now because now you can do something about it. When you learn that a week in a training camp, it's, what do I do now? It's a little too late.
You mentioned more in school went down within a span of 3 plays. Did you end practice after the second injury? Did you consider ending it after the first? And what changes have you implemented to your practice methods to reduce injuries since you've become head coach?
Well, first, we finished practice, and I usually don't cancel a practice when a guy gets hurt. So I don't, unless you think I should. If someone broke their neck or something like that, like, that's tough to go out there and do something. But no one really just cancels practices when people get hurt. So I think that would be extremely weird. Second thing, we change stuff up all the time. I mean, I could go get a book out and tell you how many reps I would do in year 1 to year 2. I don't like to tell other teams what we do, but some of our high-low stuff and how we rep guys, the way we do it off of a day off. We have heavy rep days to low rep days to heavy rep days to low rep days. A ton of stuff that goes into that, which takes us about 3 weeks to figure out before we put a schedule together.
You mentioned 15 or so guys that you wish you could keep around a little while longer. You've spoken in the past about Jimmy Garoppolo and the fact that he hasn't had a lot of full off seasons to this point since joining your team. Do you feel good about where he is, and what kind of spring do you think Jimmy had?
I think Jimmy had his best spring since we've had him, and we had the spring the first year with him. The second year he had the ACL, so we didn't get that, and then last year it was COVID, so this is really a second one. Not being on an ACL, and I thought Jimmy came in great shape, really locked in, a good place physically and mentally, and I thought he had as good of OTAs as he's had.
How would you assess the way things are flowing with the changes to the coaching staff, especially new roles for D'Amico and Mike?
I think it's been great. I think D'Amico's been ready for this role for a while. It's been fun for me to watch him in it, and just for him to continue to flourish and get better each day. I'm pumped about D'Amico, and I think he's going to show everyone how good he is, and I think everyone knows that already in this building. And Mike, not much different. Mike's been a huge part of this since we've gotten here, and so nothing's really changed. He just doesn't have to share that title with anyone anymore.
Kyle, your top 2 receivers are pretty easy to figure out, but after that, what's your feeling about the guys you have? And it looks like there's, you have 4, 5, 6 guys who are all kind of in the same boat. Does that make it difficult to, get these guys reps, evaluate, and kind of come up with a pecking order? Do you have to add somebody to this mix? Just what do you feel about that, the group after Brandon and Debo?
Similar to what you said. I think we got a number of candidates who can earn that spot you're talking about. We're looking for the obvious third spot, and with what you say with Ayuk and Debo, but those guys, they got to put in a good camp and get through it healthy so we can get them up to play up to their potential, and that's mainly allow them to get a month of practice in, which would be great for them in training camp, and if they get that, I know how good they'll be going into the season. After that, I've been happy with our group out there. A number of guys have a chance to try to earn that third role, and we need a number of guys to make the roster to be ready for starting roles in case people get hurt. So it's not to where you can just pencil in those guys, and I know Bourne's had that the last couple of years, so that's the one that everyone wants to see replaced. But guys who have done it in the past year, with Richie, he's been here for a lot and helped us a ton, and right before he got hurt or tweaked something that I thought he was having a hell of a camp, so I'm excited to see him come back. And some of the guys that people haven't seen yet with, Juwan Jennings, who was on our practice squad last year, a guy like Mohamed Sanu, who's done a lot of things in his career, he's been having a hell of a camp. Travis been having a hell of a camp. Kevin White's been doing great. I know I'm missing people, but there's not a guy on our roster at receiver that doesn't have a chance to make this team. All of them, I believe, are NFL players, and all of them gave them a chance in OTAs to show us that, and we'll see what they do in their 40 days away, and it'll be a fun competition to watch. And if everyone stays healthy, it's going to be a battle, and it's a good problem to have, though.
Hey, Kyle, what's been reported about y'all's interest in Julio Jones was that there was some interest, but it never turned into some, hot pursuit, or maybe never even a formal offer. If that's accurate, obviously, know you love Julio Jones, who wouldn't, but why was it not more of a, pursuit, or however you characterize it?
Yeah, I think the simple, like you said, no one in the world doesn't want a guy like that. Everyone knows the player he is. But it's not as simple as that. You got to think it. You got to build a team, and it's not just year to year. You got to build it for the future. And you just think about how hard it is going into drafts. You know, you never know what you're going to be able to do in free agency, who you're going to lose, who you're going to be able to bring in. You got lots of guys on one-year contracts, things like that. Everyone knows we don't have a first-round pick, but what happens when you don't have a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick, and you lose a number of guys in free agency, which you never can for sure count on, and then you end up going into a draft and you got to get 6 new spots, but all you have is a third and a fifth-round pick. It's kind of tough to build your team that way and to consistently do it. But he's a hell of a player, and he's going to definitely help Tennessee. And everyone feels that. I mean, everyone knows how special he is, but you got to think about the short term and the long term, and that's why those things are so risky for everybody.
Kyle, I've got like 3 kind of paperwork questions here. 1, a D Ford update. 2, how you feel about the vaccination rates among the players. And then 3, just confirming you guys have extended stays with the Chargers and then Greenbrier.
Yes, the Chargers and Greenbrier. D Ford, that's the guy I was talking about. He's been here since the beginning of February, doing everything. Had about 3.5 months here, and a week before everyone came back, he went back to Kansas City with his back specialist. He was going to come out here next week, but if he comes, there's not going to be too many people here left again. But he made a lot of progress in the months that he was rehabbing here. We knew we weren't going to put him throughout OTAs because we don't want his back to act up. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and hoping he can come ready to go in training camp, and hopefully he can help us out this year. Was that all 3? Oh, and the COVID rates, I think we got 50. I think we got 52 guys who have our vaccines done. Our goal, I think, is we need 85%, which I don't have a calculator on me, but I think it's 77 or something of the 90 that we have. So I'm hopeful we'll get there. I think we will. It's a different decision for everybody, and especially religious reasons. I don't think it's a decision for people who have religious deals that don't allow them to do it, but everyone else does have the decision, and I'm just hoping that we do it because I don't want to have to wear my mask in here anymore, and I want to be able to have team meetings in our normal meeting room and be able to hang out with each other when we go on the road to hotels. So hopefully that'll work out.
When it comes to D'Amico and his adjustment to his new role, how active are you in working with him and maybe coaching him up in adjusting to that role, or are you comfortable enough with him, given your familiarity, that you just sort of let him be and maybe observe from afar? Like, what's that balance like for you?
I have a good idea what I was getting into before I hired D'Amico. Or promoted him. So it was a very easy transition. I kind of had an idea what I was going to get, just being around the guy for so long and knowing how ready he is for this. And my style isn't really to micromanage anyone. I kind of sit back and let people be themselves. And if I have a problem with something, or if I think there's something that can help someone be better, I never hesitate to do that. And I do that as much as I can. But with D'Amico, you don't have to do that too much. D'Amico's been made for this role, and he's been successful in everything he's done. And regardless of what happens, I already know we have a real good one.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, thanks, guys.
guys. We got Mike McDaniel here for you.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Great. How you doing?
Fantastic. So you got the new title. What does that mean? Have you changed it all? And kind of what's been your priority, your focus this off season? Any projects out there for you?
Well, what it means, I would say, is it's an honor and privilege, really, just to be the San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator, in particular, the offensive coordinator for Kyle Shanahan. What does that mean in terms of my day-to-day job responsibilities? It's funny because I get that question a lot, and I understand why. But it's really not that different. It's kind of a natural evolution. I've been with Kyle Shanahan. This is probably my 14th year, and in that, I started out as a receiver. I was in the quarterback room in Houston with him. I've been in every single position group. So I've been being a receiver coach in Washington and Cleveland, working with him in Atlanta. I've been very connected to the pass game. So it's really business as usual. It's a very collaborative situation that Kyle Shanahan really creates on his coaching staff, and in that process, you have a voice, and you're part of all different phases. So now, maybe I lead some collaboration among the coaching staff a little bit more, but it's really not that different, to be honest. Just one of those natural progressions that we are used to year in, year out with Coach Shanahan.
Mike, I have a question for you about DeMeco. Given that you've been around him for a while, I think you were around him when he was a player with Houston too. One thing Kyle Shanahan says is he's been successful at sort of everything he's done. Do you have any examples of things that he did maybe as a player that made you think he would be a good coordinator, and how do you think he's handling his adjustment to his promotion?
It's funny to say that. My first year with Kyle Shanahan in 2006 with the Houston Texans, I was getting used to really the whole coaching profession in general and working with Kyle. Well, the Houston Texans drafted DeMeco in the first round, or in the second round, and from the jump, here's a rookie linebacker that's playing the Mike linebacker position and calling the entire defense. So every stage, there's no more honest answer than that. He's at every stage, the various teams that he played on. He was an example of. He was an extension of the coaching staff from the jump, which was super impressive. Became Rookie of the Year, I believe. And so from that standpoint, yeah, he is built for this juncture. I think he has an unbelievable rapport with the players, and really is through his whole process. We saw him his first year as a position coach, and just continue to grow and grow. So I know the whole team is excited to have him as the coordinator for the defense.
Mike, congratulations. You mentioned your background with receiving groups and being a receivers coach. Some lesser known, at least to us, receivers got a lot of work this spring because of the injuries. Who among them jumped out to you? Did anybody take strides in your estimation heading into training camp?
It's a great question. You try not to get ahead of yourself when in OTAs, because it is the spring. You're really just getting a sense of the group as a whole. And that's, I think, where the coaching staff and the personnel department were the most excited, because there's a lot of guys that are NFL football players that are stepping on that field. So from that regard, it was just really exciting to see some of the people we hadn't seen in a while go out there and perform. The competition is heavy, and you'd be a fool to try to predict who our
final roster will be with or without injuries. But it was very exciting to see that group go out there and really go for it, and really get a sense of what it's going to take to make this team, because they're all viewing each other for the first time themselves as well. So that was the most exciting part. There's highs and lows with everyone, but really looking forward to training camp to see what these guys do in preparation for that and how they perform moving forward.
Hey, Mike, as the guy who has designed and worked with the run game so much over the last few years, when you add a quarterback like Trey Lance, who maybe gives you an element that you haven't had, I know he's not your starter yet, but are there different things that you are plotting out in your mind in ways that you could use him, even if he's not starting right away?
Again, you try not to get too far ahead of yourself. Of course, that tempts your mind a little bit, but really you have to get back to the basics. And with a guy like Trey, you're just teaching him the offense and coaching him on fundamentals and seeing where he can get, really preparing him for his 40 days off where he can work on his own and preparing him to compete in training camp. So you do your best not to get ahead of yourself. You really try to focus on, okay, what are we doing today, and can we get better at something today and move forward to the next day.
Hey, Mike, I asked this because I just don't know. Well, I guess because I don't know the answer. That's a good reason to ask a question.
Great.
So I don't, Shanahan is known as, an elite, world-class play caller. So I'm just wondering, during game days, is he open to like, hey, Kyle, we should run this. Hey, think about this, Kyle. Or is it just like, that's his job, do not bother him. And, regardless of that, would you have any more freedom with your new title to say, hey, Kyle, think about this?
No, I'm really glad you asked that question because one of the things that I think Kyle isn't totally known for and should be is he is about as collaborative of a coach as you can possibly have. He does not, he is not thinking of, hey, I want to do X, Y, or Z without it being the best thing. And so he hires people that he trusts, that he values their opinion. And on game day, he has an unbelievable ability to do two things at once, to have a narrative in his head, but then also accept whatever input from the coaching staff. That's something that, being with him for 14 years, it's a tremendous advantage for me because I can feel as a play caller where he knows exactly where he's going. And then other times where he's torn between two things, you're able to, in a lull, shoot some ideas from the hip that you believe in, and he understands that he's ultimately accountable for whatever play call comes out of his mouth. So he doesn't sit there and say, okay, oh, you told me this play would work and it doesn't work. He understands that he is accountable for it all, so he embraces that. He really engenders an atmosphere where guys feel like they want to put in the work and have an idea of different ways that they can help him call the game.
Mike, congratulations.
Thank you.
Of the two Treys, both of them, they've gotten a lot of reps during these practices. What would you say the biggest step forward is for both of them?
The biggest step that they had during this camp, it's really just, in football, you have an entire language that you have to learn when you go to a new team. And so operating, it's really like a foreign language to them. So being able to step in a huddle, hear the verbiage, and go execute their assignment, that's the biggest step forward that they took, was just literally being out there and being able to operate. And once they do that, then there's a million things that you can coach them up on, which is the value of OTAs, is that we can get them an idea of what they need to be focusing on moving forward, so that when we build in training camp and throughout the season that they can perform at their best.
Hey, by kind of going off both of those aspects, including the collaborative coaching, what we could see on the field was Trey Lance would learn a lot from Rich. He seemed very receptive to the on-field coaching. Can you kind of take us, like, once you're in the meeting rooms, do you have one-on-ones with him? Does Kyle have one-on-ones with him? Does Jimmy Garoppolo? How does that kind of play out?
Well, the entire coaching staff is utilized on a day-to-day basis. His position coach is very hands-on. You also have Kyle Shanahan, who's very hands-on. And our pass game specialist, Bobby Sloak, is very hands-on. That's one of the importances. That's why it's so important to have some rapport and be on the same page as the offensive coaching staff, is so that multiple people can speak to one player and not get the wires crossed. So it's a diligent process that everyone's all in on, and we try to leave no stone unturned.
You mentioned that Kyle Shanahan is open to taking suggestions of play calls in games. Has he indicated to you that he'll give you a chance, or there'll be some situations where you can call plays on your own, whether for a drive in a regular season game or in a preseason game?
I think one of the best aspects that the San Francisco 49ers have going is we have one of the best play callers to have done it. He's done it for multiple teams for years, and it's a real gift of his. So I don't think that does the 49ers good to try to work me in selfishly as the play caller. We're very comfortable in our working relationship, and he relies on my opinion, but he also makes it very clear his expectation is that my opinion's informed and that it adds value to him, and that's really all that we're focused on here and moving forward.
And Mike, knowing how detailed Kyle is with his quarterbacks and just the minute stuff that, he's obsessed with getting right, what do you sense his level of, excitement is, having sort of a ball of clay in Trey Lance and being able to mold him into the quarterback that he wants?
I think Kyle gets excited to coach players because he's the foremost expert on doing so, and it's all about the relationship with the human beings, and I think we're all very excited and fired up about where Trey is as in terms of being coachable, wanting to be coached, his expectation for himself, and whether it's a quarterback, a center, or a running back, all you can ask for as a coach is that someone is embracing the process, and I think that fires him up more than anything.
Mike, what was your role in the pre-draft process of evaluating Trey, and how, now that you have him in the building and you've had him in the building for a while, how does what you saw and what you learned about him pre-draft kind of match up to the player, the person you see on a daily basis now?
Well, right now we're dealing with multiple Treys. So Trey Thrower, Trey Lance. As far as the pre-draft process, it's been the same for many years, where Kyle, he's collaborative in everything he does because he wants to do the best thing. First and foremost, it's the only thing. So you go and study as much as you can, have your opinions, and you more often than not, we're in complete synergy because the collection of his coaches he has extensive relationships with. So in terms of that, there's not many egos in our building. There's a chain of command, and within that chain of command, it's understood that everyone is here to support each other, because collectively we're all judged at the end of seasons, games, quarters, whatever it is, on our final product. So and having Trey in-house, it's been exciting because he is who he thought he was in terms of the diligent worker. The guy is very smart, and he wants to do well, but he takes coaching. That's something that's undervalued in this day and age, I think, that people don't really give its true gravity to, hey, a guy is willing to hear constructive criticism and take that and move forward instead of getting their feelings hurt, because we're not in the business of feelings. We're in the business of end results. So, whether I think all of our players and the culture that is kind of instilled here, they kind of understand that we are here to coach you for the betterment of all of our existences.
Hi, Mike. Kate Rooney with Cron 4. There may not be a neat and tidy answer to this given how intertwined your career has been with Kyle's and how collaborative things are, but what are the hallmarks of you as a coach? What stamp do you put on the offense individually?
I think I'm, as a coach, I'm a product of my environment, and again, my career has been intertwined with Kyle's. So I think for me specifically, I am a good listener, and I kind of I think for the things that, there's a lot of times that Kyle can just be seed planting. Hey, we need to do something out of shotgun, or we need more motions, or we need less motions, or we need more audibles. Attempting to get that kind of abstract vision and putting the details on it. I think I would say that would be a strength of mine. I'm not necessarily that great at giving myself compliments, so you're putting me in an awkward spot here, but I at least I try to do that, and it's, again, no one cares about a cool idea that's independent on its own. Idea is cool if it's applicable to the defense, it's applicable to the talents of your particular players, and it fits within everything that you're trying to do, because at the end of the day, it's a prerequisite that there's no standalone plays, or everything's got to be tied together and serve a purpose, so that it can fit the desired ends. That kind of answer your question? All right, thumbs up.
Mike, we obviously didn't see all of your OTA practices, but it seemed like Justin School was serving as the swing tackle during those sessions. Now that he's hurt, who's in the running for that role heading into camp?
Well, it's good that you said who's in the running, because if I was a betting man, I probably wouldn't bet on who it's going to be, because that's what training camp's for. Training camp is to settle those things. But one of the great things we have in terms of our offensive line position room is there's a ton of players that are good at tackle. There's a ton of versatility. There's a lot of people that will be competing in that spot. For instance, in OTAs, there was Colton McKivitz was getting reps at tackle, who played guard for us last year. Jalen Moore was getting reps at tackle. Sean Coleman was back getting reps at tackle. Even Dan Brunskill. There's a lot of guys that are going to be competing, and a lot of above-the-line NFL players. So it'll be very exciting to see who can take that spot that Justin himself was competing for.
Mike, we saw a little bit of Mohamed Sanu, and he looked really, really good. And I don't know if that was just that one day, but Kyle praised him as well. things kind of went awry for him the last couple of years with injuries. Do you sense that he's a lot healthier now, and do you see him looking a lot better than he had recently?
That's a great observation. Mohamed Sanu is a player that we have history with, not just last year briefly, but in Atlanta for 2016. And I think Mohamed Sanu serves as a good vision for a lot of the young guys, because this dude came back in great shape and with something to prove. You can tell that he doesn't expect anything to be given to him, and he's trying to earn his spot on this team. So it was very exciting to see him perform. He was doing very well, and if he comes back to training camp in that same shape, he's going to be a guy that is going to be tough to beat out for that final 53 roster.
Two more, please.
Mike, I assume you're now out earning some of your Yale classmates. But when you were early on in your coaching career, like kind of a scrub with the Texans or hanging with the Sacramento Mountain Lions, did you get people like saying, "Dude, what are you doing with your Yale degree?"
Well, yeah, I hope no one ever thought I was a scrub, but I get no. You got that question a lot. It's funny because there's like, aren't there better things that you could be doing with that education? And what was funny in that whole process when you're deciding to become a coach and going through it is it registered to me. I had like a summer internship, or in business. There's some iBaking stuff that I investigated, and I realized for me to ultimately be satisfied in my career, I had to be passionate about it. And unfortunately, there wasn't that much that I was passionate about besides football. So for me to be at my best and to be satisfied with my ultimate career, I knew for a fact that I had to follow my passion. So I didn't go into college thinking that the end game was coaching football, but when I started investigating other avenues, it was an easy decision and something I never looked back on.
Hey, Mike, congrats on the new gig.
Appreciate
as much as I'd like to ask you about your time with the Sacramento Mountain Lions, you guys drafted Aaron Banks in the second round. And because of his size, some people thought that you guys would add more just gap scheme because it fits his size profile. Do you see yourself adding more gap and man principles this season? And is that just dependent on just Banks' skill set or having 5 guys just consistently on the offensive line?
Yeah, we've heard that, and for us, it's funny because we have a history of smaller offensive linemen, but that's really, we haven't invested second-round draft picks into offensive linemen. We'd prefer everyone to be 400 pounds and 6'10", if you could engineer that. We do a lot of gap schemes and man schemes in our offense, but to say that we're changing anything, no. We felt like he had a skill set that could thrive, and have a lot of faith in Coach Furster and Butch Berry and Zach Yenser to get him to perform to our standards, but nothing. We weren't looking through a vision of changing anything. We thought that, this is a guy that was quick enough, that on the second level could attach to defenders. He had a lot of skills, and we like that he's big. He's just gonna have to run fast while being big, and we felt like he was a candidate to do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.